The air was thick with smoke. The sound of crackling flames echoed through the empty street. The fire's destructive path relentless and unforgiving. Inside a modest two-story house, the heat was unbearable. Smoke swirled and twisted, creating an impenetrable fog. "Help! Please! Someone help!" A woman's desperate voice screamed from the other side of the door. She had been trapped, but the most urgent distress wasn't for her own life. "I can't leave her." Her voice quivered, trembling with fear and love. Inside, a small dog whimpered. Her best friend, her family. The firefighter, Mike Thompson, stood poised before the burning house, sweat dripping down his brow. The flames were rising faster now, inching closer to the front door. There wasn't much time. Mike knew the risks. He knew the danger. He had seen his share of burning buildings, but this wasn't just a fire. This was a life. One that wasn't human but was just as cherished. A dog, an innocent creature, caught in the blaze. What happened next would make headlines, but it would also change the course of two lives forever. Mike Thompson had always been a hero in his own right. A firefighter for the past 10 years. He had seen and saved countless lives. But what truly set Mike apart was the passion that ran deep in his soul. A passion not only for his job, but for the love he had for animals. It was an unspoken connection. As a child, he had always gravitated toward the animals in his neighborhood. Stray dogs, injured birds, even the occasional lost cat. Mike had always been the first to run toward them. He saw the world through a lens of empathy, and it was that very empathy that had driven him to become a firefighter. For Mike, every life mattered. There was no distinction between human or animal. The courage he displayed in the line of duty was not just a result of training. It was a result of his core belief that everyone deserved a chance to be saved. That's why, on this fateful day, as the house burned, Mike didn't hesitate when the homeowner pleaded for help. The house belonged to Emma Carter, a kind-hearted woman who had recently moved into the neighborhood. She had adopted the dog, Bella, from a local shelter, a rescue with a tragic past. Bella had been abandoned, mistreated, and had suffered through an emotionally barren childhood before Emma had given her a second chance. Emma and Bella were more than just pet and owner. They were best friends, companions who relied on each other. Emma often joked that Bella was her emotional support dog, her comfort during hard days. And now, as the fire raged, both of them were at risk of losing everything. Emma's entire world was crumbling around her, but she knew, deep in her heart, there was hope. If anyone could save Bella, it would be Mike. The sound of the sirens wailed as the fire truck skidded to a halt in front of the house. Mike was already out of the truck before it had fully stopped, rushing toward the burning structure. "Is there anyone inside?" Mike shouted to the frantic woman standing just outside the house. Emma's face was streaked with tears, but her eyes were wide with fear. "My dog! Bella, she's inside!" Emma cried, her voice barely audible over the roar of the flames. She pointed desperately toward the door. "Please, you have to help her. She's all I have left." Mike didn't hesitate. His training kicked in, and without a second thought, he dashed toward the door, a cloud of smoke billowing in his wake. His heart pounded, knowing full well the dangers he was about to face. But there was no turning back. Inside, the fire was quickly engulfing everything in sight. Mike's chest tightened as he tried to navigate the smoke-filled, charred interior of the house. The air was thick, every breath a struggle. He shouted Bella's name, his voice hoarse, but there was no response. Panic surged within him. What if it was too late? His flashlight flickered, barely illuminating the dark, burning corridor ahead of him. Then, through the haze, he saw it movement. A small figure, Bella, was huddled beneath a table, trembling, her fur singed from the heat. Mike's heart skipped a beat, but there was no time to waste. The fire was spreading rapidly, and he could already hear the crackling sound of beams ready to collapse. He crawled on all fours, smoke burning his lungs, and reached for Bella, pulling her into his arms. But as he made his way toward the door, a loud, cracking sound shook the room. A portion of the ceiling collapsed, blocking his escape. Mike cursed under his breath, knowing that every second counted. Mike's vision blurred with sweat as he tried to lift Bella, the dog now cradled protectively in his arms. but the weight of the smoke was too much. His lungs burned. The flames grew louder. Time was running out. Just as he turned toward the door, the structure groaned, and the ceiling above him began to cave. Mike was pinned, a heavy beam falling directly in his path. The pressure was unbearable. He gritted his teeth, trying to move forward, but his body was starting to give in to the weight of the fire. Bella whimpered softly in his arms, her small body trembling. Mike's heart broke for her, for all the suffering she had endured, for the bond she shared with Emma. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Not for her. Not for Bella. Then, like a miracle, Mike felt a hand grasp his shoulder. It was another firefighter, Daniel, who had come in through the back entrance. Without a word, Daniel helped Mike lift the beam just enough for him to escape. The two of them worked together, pushing through the smoke, fighting the heat, their hands shaking but their resolve stronger than ever. Finally, they reached the door, and just as the front porch was consumed by flames, they emerged from the house, carrying Bella to safety. As Mike laid the dog gently into Emma's arms, she collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed with relief. But her gratitude was overwhelming. She looked up at Mike with teary eyes and whispered a simple, yet profound, "Thank you. You saved her. You saved my everything," she said, her voice thick with emotion. The bond between human and animal was visible in every word. But what Emma didn't know was that Mike had been through his own battle to save her too. The emotional weight of the moment wasn't lost on him. He had saved a dog, but he had also saved a piece of a woman's heart. The ambulance had already left with the paramedics, and the fire was now under control. Mike stood on the curb, drenched in sweat and covered in soot. But he didn't care about the dirt. What mattered was the life he had saved. It wasn't just Bella's, it was Emma's too. As the flames died down and the smell of burnt wood lingered in the air, Emma walked up to Mike, holding Bella gently against her chest. Her eyes were full of unspeakable gratitude, and Mike felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. But the words that came next left him stunned. "Mike," she said softly, "I don't know how to thank you for this. Bella, she means everything to me. But so do you. I know you have your own story, too. I can see it in your eyes." Mike was taken aback. He had never really thought about his own struggles. But something about Emma's words struck a chord deep within him. "You don't have to thank me," Mike replied. "I just did my job." Emma smiled faintly, then, with a deep sigh, added, "Maybe you did. But your job isn't just about saving lives. It's about seeing the heart of someone else's story." Mike's eyes widened. He had always thought of saving lives as a physical task, something straightforward. But Emma was right. It was the emotional connection, the heart, that made all the difference. As Mike walked away from the scene, he couldn't help but reflect on the connection he had made with Emma. Her words had touched him more than he realized. Maybe it wasn't just about the job. Maybe it was about healing the invisible scars, about making people feel seen and heard. Emma's life was forever changed. She had lost everything, her home, her possessions, but gained something far more valuable, a reminder of the importance of love, friendship, and the compassion that runs through us all. And for Mike, he realized that his calling was more than just firefighting. It was about changing lives, one moment, one life, at a time. If this heartwarming story of bravery, compassion, and the bond between a woman and her dog touched you, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more powerful, life-changing stories. Share this video with your friends and spread the message that kindness can make the difference between life and death. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling us how this story impacted you and what you would have done in Mike's shoes. Stay tuned for more stories that will inspire and uplift you in ways you never thought possible.